Hello and welcome to the Live to Move vlog, where we discuss all things dance in South Africa. Today, I'm joined by the co-founder of Live to Move, and we're going to discuss a few things about Dust, the latest production. Previously, I did a reaction video. It's a 2-part video. You can find it on our page and give it a watch and comment and like. So I had quite a few questions when I was watching the Dust video or recording, and I thought it would be great if I can speak to the choreographer and just find out a few behind the scenes things. So today we are joined by Melissa Schaefer. Hi Melissa.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Melissa Schaefer. Candice and I are actually sisters, and I am the older one. But
just in case,
but I've been dancing since I was about 4 years old. Started in ballet, did a little bit of modern, then went to the National School of the Arts, did contemporary, jazz, some Spanish dancing. Matriculated from there in 2012. 2013, I did my graduate year with Joburg Ballet. And 2014, I went over to Holland, studied some more contemporary with a dance school in Haarlem. And then came back, did some corporate work in the South African corporate industry, and I've been teaching Pilates since 2018, 2017, and now we have Live to Move, which we started in 2019. So, yeah, that's it.
One thing you forgot is you also danced on a cruise ship.
Oh, yes.
Touring the world a little bit.
You know when you put on the spot and you can't remember everything?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that was 2016, 2017.
Yeah, so you've had quite a bit of experience in different areas of dance.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited. I have a t-shirt on that I got as a Christmas present, and I just love this t-shirt. I'm going to show everybody.
It is really beautiful.
It's so beautiful, my friend. Thank you so much. She spoiled me with this beautiful dance t-shirt, and I really love it. So I thought, I'm recording the dance vlog. Let me wear my dance t-shirt.
Of course. And one day we'll be sitting here in some LTM merchandise. Dun, dun, dun. Coming soon.
Coming soon. Looking forward to that.
Yay.
Okay, well, let's get started with the interview. I have a few questions that I would like to ask you. Okay, so Dust, the latest Live to Move show, and it was named Dust because you were dancing with powder. Or
Correct.
Another word for powder is dust. So could you tell us a little bit of the inspiration behind working with powder and behind coming up with the name Dust?
So during all of my sort of time working in the industry, I've done quite a few photo shoots along the way, which I think your average dancer ends up doing. And one of them, I was helping a friend with her photography work, and she wanted to experiment with some powder and getting some powder shots. And I think that's the first time I really saw how amazing it could look. And, you keep seeing these pictures that other people are doing, also using powder, and they're just really beautiful. So I think that is where it all started. And then
yes, I've seen some really nice dance photos with powder. And actually my one colleague, she did a photo shoot recently with some powder, and it looks really, really nice.
Yeah, it's so striking, and it sticks with you, this image. And
yes, and the way it also falls on the dancer and the outfit, and It's just always unique.
Absolutely. So I think I had sort of been thinking, what do we do for our second show? You know, we've done Woman now. What can we do that's maybe less serious, less sort of trying to make a point about something? Just want to have fun with the next show. And I kept seeing those images popping up, and I think I was just like, maybe we could do something more with powder. You know, these things come to you in the middle of the night in your dreams, kind of thing. And that just really stuck with me.
Okay. And the name Dust, how did you pick the name Dust? I know it's another word for powder, but what was sort of the inspiration behind that? I know we had a few back and forth, what were we going to name this? And so just to let everybody else know, what was our process?
I knew I'd wanted to call it something that was just one word, that's easy to remember. And you know, powder just isn't very striking as a word on its own.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, let's maybe translate it into another language, which I also didn't really find anything that I had liked, or that was easy to know that that's what that meant.
Okay.
And then I started looking at like words with similar meanings or something like that, like a synonym or something. And that was when I saw dust. And yeah, that stuck with me because it's quite a simple 4-letter word that's striking, that's, you know what it's about. Yeah, just that was the word.
Easy to remember, easy to say, short and sweet.
Exactly, yes.
And then going back to, you know, you saying the inspiration behind Dust, doing something fun. In my reaction video, I said that word so many times. It looked like so much fun, like childlike fun. It's like playing in the mud, or, you know, in the northern hemisphere, like playing in the snow or something. It's just innocent and
fun. So we've noticed, or I've noticed, that, you know, going to watch competitions or going to watch dance shows, especially contemporary, it's always very, very sad. It's depressing, in fact.
It's always depressing and like intense topics, you know, death, depression, very, very intense emotions.
Yeah, exactly. It's heavy, and you leave there sort of, yes, feeling something and thinking about the topic that you've just watched, but it's very heavy. And I think that there's a lot in society that's heavy as well. We've just been through a pandemic. We like, you know, there's a lot going on. So
life is intense, yes.
Yeah. So I thought it would just be nice to do a contemporary piece that is light and a breath of fresh air and happy. And it just kind of evolved from there, even when I was choosing the music, when I was sort of starting to think of how to lay out the show and the progression of the show. It was just very light, was what I was looking for.
And I think you did achieve that.
Yay!
So a few things I noticed when I was watching the recording of the show. So question number 1, did the powder make the stage a bit slippery? Was it hard to like navigate the stage with the powder on the floor?
Surprisingly, it actually made it nicer. So because we had the dance mats on the stage, the powder kind of worked like you would use on your point shoes, where it actually gives you better turning effects. So it didn't necessarily make it more slippery. It actually made it nicer to work on, except, of course, if you were rolling on the floor, then you definitely felt the powder. And that was maybe a bit more painful.
Okay. Yeah, well, you were dancing barefoot, so, the powder does help with like spinning steps.
Exactly. So any turning things, it was actually such a breeze. So it was like rosin from the
I
point
don't know
where...
I'm not sure which way is the correct way to say it, rosin or resin.
I don't know either. I've heard both.
Me too. That's why I'm like not sure. But yes, that stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So it kind of felt like that. It was actually easier turning wise. It was easier jumping. It wasn't slippery. Like when you were landing from a jump, you were okay. Yeah, it was actually quite nice.
Okay. Question number 2. Was the powder annoying at times? There were a few times where you like brush the powder and it like disperses into the air. Was that tricky? Did it get into your eyes? You said like rolling on the floor, it was maybe uncomfortable. So like having it in the air, was that also a bit uncomfortable?
We definitely discovered when we started actually running rehearsals with the powder, we definitely had to choreograph when you were throwing and where you were throwing the powder, where you were pushing it. So it was always away from you because, yes, it definitely landed on your face and in your eyes, which is not what you want. No. Especially if you're like me and you wear contact lenses, it's very uncomfortable. So yeah, there were moments where you could definitely feel that. And I think that's why it was so nice to have moments where we're brushing ourselves down, just cleaning it off, because then you could wipe your face and it wasn't like not part of the show or the choreography. So that definitely helped. It was, of course, only really the first half of the show as well. So there was a limit to how much powder there was going to end up being. And I think that helped as well, as we did have to limit ourselves. Very small handfuls. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one.
So you had to sort of choreograph your powder throwing.
Correct.
Brushing.
Yes.
Then question number 3. Was it interesting to see the floor after each performance? And was the floor different after each performance?
Definitely. So, I mean, if you've seen the show, you've seen that we clean the stage halfway through the show. And the cleaning was unchoreographed, so it was always different, which meant there were always different patterns left over on the stage. And then, of course, those patterns are influenced by what happens in the rest of the show. So it was definitely always different. Our pictures always looked different as well. Sometimes they were smaller, sometimes they were bigger. The first show was a lot of powder, like a lot. And if you've been to the festival, you know that there's multiple shows running in the same venue throughout the day. So we had to be considerate for the show that was after us. So definitely by the second show, we toned it down. That's why I say smaller handfuls of powder, and more about the emphasis of throwing. Even if you had less in your hand, it was still achieving the same effect, because we definitely saw in the first show it was too much powder. And it's very difficult to then clean and prepare the stage for the show after you. So yeah, we had to tone it down a little bit as well.
Trial and error.
Exactly.
And that's also part of playing. Trying different things. Okay, that was too much powder. Try again. Oh, that was maybe too little powder. So all of that is playing. And another thing I mentioned in the reaction video is that a choreographer that we both worked with always said contemporary is playing. You've got to play, you've got to try different things and just do different things to see what works the best.
Absolutely. So that's exactly why we started integrating it into our rehearsals even. There was no way that we could only work with the powder on stage because you'd never know then what it's going to look like. So it was very, very important to play with it before. I think with any prop you're going to use, you have to play and experiment and see what you like about it, what you don't. And that was very, very important with the powder, to play with it. And that a lot of our playing happened in that rehearsal time, and then we just brought it to the stage.
Then this leads to my next question, because you were saying, the first show, cleanup was a little bit hard because you used so much powder. When you were cleaning the stage, you bring in different things. So there was the red, like feather duster, that I really love the color of the red. But then you also bring in a broom and a mop.
They've both been mops. They were the same mop.
Oh, okay. Maybe just on the recording it looked different.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe it's just from the recording. Yes. So was the mop damp or wet?
So we did actually experiment with that as well. The first few shows we had it wet, which actually was really helpful because it does clean it a lot better. Then we tried one show without, of course, to make a comparison. And the dry mop, it just doesn't necessarily clean the floor. It pushes the powder everywhere, but it doesn't collect it. So the wet mop definitely worked better because it kind of collects it into a bit of a cake.
And I think you also don't want it too wet. It can't be dripping because you're going to dance on the stage, and a wet stage is then a slipping hazard. And so I wasn't sure watching the video. I couldn't see if it was wet or not. So I was confused.
It's hard to tell. But I think as soon as I came on, because I was quite close to the front edge of the stage, you can see I actually make a line in the powder, and that's only possible because it's wet. But we also did wet it maybe about 30 minutes before the show, so it's not extremely wet once you get to that section of the show. Yeah.
And then back to playing with the powder. How much fun was it? Because watching it looks really fun. I want to now get powder and just make pictures on the floor after watching it. But was it actually that fun to play with the powder? Or were there some times where you were why doesn't this powder do what I wanted to do? Or were you just okay, it's a bit tricky to make a circle, let me do it like this? Or what was the powder like to play with?
I think a combination of what you're saying. So in the moments where we were just playing, where it was unchoreographed, it was loads of fun because it didn't matter if the powder worked perfectly or not. You were just playing. But in the moments where it was the choreographed stuff where we all had to be together and throw the powder at the same time, then it was maybe a bit more frustrating to work with because sometimes you got your powder, other times you didn't, especially when we were wearing the gloves, because that was very, very hard to feel.
A bit tricky.
Yes. So in those moments where you wanted to be together, if it didn't work out, you were maybe a bit more disappointed.
Okay. So then what was the audience feedback? Did you receive any feedback? What was the overall consensus about the show? Overall reaction or overall takeaway? Like what people took away from the show?
So we were lucky with our preview that the audience, they all sort of, you come off stage and you expect the audience to like filter out of the space that you're working in or the theater, but our audience, like, they were there, and I think it's because most of them were family members or friends that the cast knows, so they wanted to see their person afterwards, so they were kind of like lingering in the space, applauding for ages, waiting for us to come back onto stage. So that was very nice. Then we interacted with that audience after the show, and that we got really nice feedback, that it was very interesting, it was so different, it was just amazing to see, and that really did, I think, boost our confidence knowing that we were leaving for the festival a few days later. So it just made us feel excited to take the show to the festival, knowing that the audience will enjoy it. Unfortunately, I didn't see any reviews. There's normally reviews of the shows in the festival. I didn't manage to find any. So I would have loved to have known what the festival thought of the show. They did send people to come and watch, and I just didn't see anything.
Oh, sometimes you can just miss it, or maybe it was like a print for that day and then you didn't like check that day, so then it's gone the next day or something.
Exactly, I think that was the case. They do have reviews on that online, but that was more reviews for the main program and not necessarily the fringe. So that was unfortunately not on there either.
Oh, damn. But it's okay. Like, you still got some from the audience, so at least. But yes, a professional like reaction or a comment would be nice to have known or heard. Yeah.
We did actually have a group come and join us. They were from another show. They were working with a university in KZN in Durban, and they also really loved it. So I suppose that's maybe a bit more of a professional reaction.
Yes, because they're in a similar industry. They're in theatre.
Yeah, so that was very, very nice to hear from them.
Yeah. And overall for you, were you happy with the performance? Were you happy with just how it all came together?
Yeah, we really did have such a blast, and every show felt different. Every show felt good. We had great audience attendance. We had awesome applauses. So it really it felt like all the work was worth it. And it really, really was so much fun, actually. Even those moments that go wrong in the middle of the show, that's not what you remember. You remember that feeling at the end of the show when everyone is applauding. And that makes it all worth it. So yeah, that was
a success.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Little applause. And what's next? What's next for Live to Move? What can our fans, hopefully we have some fans, can they check out? We mentioned some merchandise. So, some maybe t-shirts and things like that. What else can we look at?
So, yes, we will hopefully be launching some merchandise, but that will likely be towards the end of the year. Before then, we've got some workshops that you can come and join, especially if you're a dancer and you're looking just to expand your skill set and maybe learn a little bit more, then those workshops are for you. We'll have what we call a double bill. So if you haven't seen Dust or Woman yet, we will combine them. The first half will be Woman, interval, and then Dust. And then you can see both shows. And then we're also working on a new production. I don't want to mention any details until it premieres. Let's keep that a secret. But yes, there is a new production in the works.
Oh, great. So it sounds like quite a busy year. Workshops, a new production. Shh, keeping it hush-hush for the moment, but it's still happening. And then merchandise hopefully coming the end of this year. So that's great. Just, to remind everybody, this is a passion project for Melissa and I, and we do work full time, so it's something that we do in our part time. So maybe things don't come out as quickly as we want, but it's the process, and we just take our time, and we want everything to be done correctly. Well, not correctly, but nicely and beautifully.
Yes, we're putting our hearts and our souls into it. So we'd rather have it look to our standard or, be what we were hoping it was going to be before we put something out there.
Thank you so much for joining me and answering just a few little questions I had. It's really nice actually to speak to the choreographer and dancer afterwards. I also choreographed a bit, and I was saying in the reaction video, it's so nice to see your choreography come alive and to see what was done with the powder, because you have an image in your head, but to actually put it out there is very different.
I think that was
different than just filming.
I think that was an amazing journey for you, actually, to be on the other side where you're sending me videos of choreography and I'm sending you videos back of like what we've done with it and how we've maybe because you were one person, we were 4 people. So there were some things that changed maybe pattern wise or spacing wise. And I think you had quite an interesting journey sort of seeing everything afterwards, hey?
Yes, it was. Like I said also in the reaction video, I'm like just thinking about it, and I'm trying things in my tiny little apartment, and it's just me. As you said, it's just me. And I'm thinking for 4 people who haven't met. I don't actually know them. I've seen videos of them dancing, and I think the one girl I had met before when I was still in South Africa. So I don't, it was weird because I don't really see these people in front of me. So that was, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's been actually amazing that we're able to do that. That I could say to you, okay, pick which song you like. You took a video and you just sent it to me and I just taught it to them. And yeah, it was actually so much fun that we could do that.
Technology has really helped us a lot.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. It was really, really special to actually have you contribute, even though you're not here.
Yeah, it was really special for me as well, because it kind of felt like when I left South Africa, I was like, I'm giving up on this passion project, but then I've still been a part of it so much with the choreography and assisting with choosing a name and with our social media stuff, which reminds me, if you want to find out more about us, please check out our social media pages. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So, still feeling like I'm contributing to Live to Move. Even though I'm so far away, being here in Beijing, I still feel a part of our journey. And then also starting this podcast. I only started this vlog being in Beijing. And so that's also like helped me feel more connected to Live to Move. Well, thank you so much again for joining me. And I'm so excited for what's to come with the Live to Move journey. And thank you to our audience for joining us for another episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a like. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment. We would love to hear your thoughts